All right, good morning, class. Today, we're going to be looking at the culinary art standard, which reads, analyze and apply culinary related knowledge, technology, and skills for food preparation and service in a safe and sanitary environment. Okay. Our essential question today is going to be, what are the elements of sourdough? Our work period is going to be making sourdough, and the after action report is going to be 3 ups, meaning what are 3 good things you like about today's class, 3 downs, 3 things we can improve upon about today's class, and 3 sustains, meaning what 3 things would you like to keep the same. All right. Our recipe is how to make homemade sourdough bread. This recipe is from Tasty. I'm going to add a 4th teaspoon of yeast to this recipe, and I'll be explaining why. All right. So for the starter here, that requires 2 cups of warm water, 2 1/4 teaspoon of active dry yeast, 3.5 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now, this is one of the elements of sourdough bread, which means sourdough implies that there is a sourdough. And to make this starter, you'll combine all of the ingredients together, and you will let those sit for roughly 5 days, about a week. And you're going to do what's called stirring and feeding your sourdough. So this is the starter right here that's been sitting for 5 days. And on every day, what you want to do is you want to add about a tablespoon of bread flour to this. So you can feed the yeast. And what we mean by feeding the yeast is that yeast needs nutrients in order for it to stay alive. So we stir this up once a day, and we add a tablespoon of flour to it every day. Now, this is going to pick up some of the natural yeasts that's in the air. All right, this is how bread was made years ago, by adding flour and water and just letting it sit out and ferment. When you do this at home, it is going to smell a little funky, but that's a good thing. That's what we need for our sourdough. So this is our flour in a bowl. This is 3 cups of flour, and I wanted to accent this by letting you know that when you do measure out your flour, you want it in a level 1 cup measure, just like that. Okay. So this is the last cup of flour going in. All right. This is the type of yeast that was used here. Okay. The mixing bowl. Now, the other recipe here calls for our 1 cup of sourdough starter. So we're going to measure off 1 cup of this, like such. Okay, so that is our 1 cup of starter. Now you can save the remaining starter for bread for another day. The only thing you'll need to do is feed it about 1 tablespoon of flour once every 1 or 2 days. Okay. So yeah, that comes out. Now we have our mixing bowl here. We're going to put in our starter. Then we're going to add our bread flour. I'm also going to add an additional 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. Okay. That's just to make sure that our bread is going to proof and rise properly, just in case this here is completely dead, but it should not be. But this is just as a precautionary measure, okay? I'm going to add our 2 teaspoons of salt. Now, if you paid attention here, I did not add salt directly to the yeast. You never add salt directly to yeast. You always want to create some type of barrier when you do that. So this was the type of yeast that was used, Frenchman's Active Dry Yeast. You can get this at Kroger or Walmart, Publix. I just buy the bigger jars because I make bread.